Katie was at the airport stressing out, and her daughter Morgan was in tears. They missed their connection home, the next flight was booked, and there were no other flights out that day. She had to be at work the next morning. I know this story well. Katie is my wife, Morgan is my daughter, and I was standing a few feet away watching it unfold. And this may sound like just another travel story, but by the end you should see how it can change your life. So, I'll start by explaining how we got there. We were traveling back from a family vacation in Aruba, and we kind of snuck away for a quick 6-day trip over winter break to enjoy the warmth and the sunshine. We were on our way back, and our first flight got delayed a little bit, so we missed the connection to our flight home. And again, this may sound like a normal travel story, but bear with me. My son was also with us, and he was observing. He asked, "Why is Mom so stressed, and why was I so calm?" And the simplest answer, I did not have to be at work the next morning. If we got stuck for a day or two, it did not impact my career or my ability to earn money. That's because several years ago, I intentionally structured my business so that I could run it from anywhere. Actually, I had my laptop in the carry-on. So I'm going to break down the possibilities for how you can work. And there's really 4 options. You can work for someone, or you can work for yourself. And either way, you can work remotely, or you can work at a physical location. So my wife worked for someone and at a physical location. Missing work would be very stressful. If she worked for somebody else but could work remotely, she may have a little bit less stress. Or if she was her own boss but needed to be at a physical location, she might still be a little stressed. But I had the best of both worlds. I did not have a boss, and I could work from anywhere. Actually, I'd been working the entire vacation. At the end of each day, we would come in from our adventure of snorkeling, sailing, or playing at the beach or whatever, and I always requested the first shower. Once out of the shower, I'd have about an hour to sit down and check my emails and run my business while the rest of my family grabbed their showers and got ready. Then we'd go out and have a nice dinner and evening activities. We'd been traveling that way for many years. I always had the first shower. And for years, my kids would occasionally ask, why do you work while on vacation? And the answer is simple, because it enables me to keep up with my business and it does not interfere with the vacation. Besides, I like to do what I do, so returning a few emails doesn't really feel like much work. Now that they're older, one of them is in college and one graduates high school in just a couple months, they look at it differently. They've realized that employers limit vacation time. They understand that my ability to travel for 10 days or 10 weeks is unusual. Very few people have that kind of freedom. Keep this in mind as you think about both financial freedom and a lifestyle that has lower stress. If you can work remotely, there is a lot less stress. If you work for yourself and can work remotely, then you're even more relaxed. If you have that, plus you have significant passive cash flow coming in every month, then you'd have very little financial stress. Things like missing a connection and getting back from vacation a day or two later really don't cause much stress. So how do you get to this point? It's actually easier than you might think. First of all, focus on passive cash flow. Build that as aggressively as you can. If you build it correctly, you'll not even need a job or a business. I was listening to Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, earlier this morning. He said that his focus when he started investing 40 to 50 years ago was to build passive cash flow. The hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth he created all came because of that focus on passive cash flow. The other thing you can do, especially if financial freedom from passive cash flow is several years away, is to find ways to work remotely. Start with your current employer and see if they allow it. You could look at working for someone else in your industry or getting a job in another industry. But what works best for most people is to start their own business that can be run from anywhere. Reach out to me if you want to consider that, and I may be able to help. So what happened with my wife and daughter? I went over to my wife and daughter and told them everything will be fine. My wife will not lose her job for missing one day of work in the last 10 years. A month from now, this moment would be almost irrelevant. And that kind of helped them understand and relax a little bit. And then I encouraged them to go relax, which for them meant to go for a walk. I waited a few minutes, and then I went to the ticket agent and calmly asked for our options and that I'd appreciate any help that she could offer. I tried to live the saying, you catch more flies with sugar than with vinegar, so I was sweet. After a few minutes of cracking jokes and getting the agent to relax, after all, she was stressed too, She miraculously found an opening on a different flight later that day. My wife and daughter were thrilled when I told them. Shift your focus from growing assets to growing passive cash flow. Look for ways to earn income from anywhere. Do those two things, and it will give you financial freedom as well as the freedom to travel as much as you want, and with a lot less stress.